Okay, let us start. Already you know the schedule. In the first 6 classes, we will discuss briefly the entire syllabus. Here I am not going to explain each and every concept in detail. Why? Because the time will not permit us. Here we will discuss with respect to a particular topic what to be written in the exam. What are the possible questions from a particular topic and what to be written. That's it. In this week we have exam on chapter 2, 3, 4. Chapters 2, 3, 4 and 5 of paper 2. Chapter 2 deals with demographic profile of India. Chapter 3 deals with traditional Indian society. Everyone knows, I know it. Chapter 4 growth of anthropology in India. Chapter 5 deals with social change. Villages, minorities, process of socio-cultural change, agents of socio-cultural change. In our program, we have exam on every Friday. Explanation for that exam will be there on the next Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday will be discussion sessions. With regard to the forthcoming exam, now we have 3 sessions for the forthcoming exam. In the first session, today we will discuss traditional Indian society. Tuesday. Tomorrow we will discuss social change. That means on Wednesday. And day after tomorrow, that means on Thursday, we will discuss 2nd and 4th chapters. In this span of 2 hours, we are going to discuss entire traditional Indian society. In the traditional Indian society, we have 4 sections. First, traditional Indian philosophy, after that caste system, after that belief systems, that means NMS complex, sacred complex, and the impact of different religions on traditional Indian society. 4 sections we have in the 3rd chapter. Let us discuss those sections one after another rapidly. 3.1 deals with traditional Indian philosophy. In this we have 4 concepts. First one is Purusharthas. Second one is Runas. Third one is Karma and Rebirth. And finally Ashrama System or one Ashrama System. So far in the history of UPSC, only 10 marks questions were given from this 3.1 section. That's why we will prepare accordingly. First let us discuss Purusharthas. When the question is asked in the exam, they will mention like this only, Purusharthas 10 marks. Then we have to write what is the meaning of Purusharthas. Definition. According to traditional Indian philosophy, every Hindu has to achieve 4 goals in his life. They are called Purusharthas. That's it. They are Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Then put subheadings. Dharma, subheading, Artha, subheading, Kama, subheading and Moksha. 4 subheadings. They must be clearly visible to the examiner. Dharma stands for right action or righteousness. It determines what is right or what is wrong. It regulates future conduct of human beings. That's it. Over. Artha. Artha stands for material prosperity. We require wealth for our survival. Then see here, whenever you are writing Artha, we require wealth for, then write For what purposes we need money? In the form of points. We require Arda for the maintenance of the family, for imparting education to our children, for performing pujas, yajnas and sacrifices, for helping other members of the society. Those we require wealth for certain purposes. Those purposes have to be written in the form of points 1, 2, 3, 4, so that the examiner can see those points very clearly. Please remember, examiner is also a human being. If he feels comfortable, he will give more marks. If we irritate him, definitely we will get less marks. We have to remember this point. See, whenever we have certain points, we have to write those points like this, one after another. Everything in the examination, everything depends on presentation, how we channelize our answers. Structure is very, very important. First definition, after that dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Then kama. Kama stands for desires, especially sex desires. Our Hindu philosophical thinkers have fully appreciated the role of kama in the life of human beings. The urge for sex is biological. It cannot be avoided. It must be satisfied. Whenever it is satisfied, it results in the production of the children and perpetuation of human race. Then moksha. Moksha is nothing but salvation. Liberation of the soul from the continuous cycle of birth and rebirth. According to traditional Indian philosophy, every Hindu has to achieve artha and kama by following the path of dharma in order to achieve moksha. When we achieve artha and kama by following the path of dharma, then definitely we will get moksha. Then significance. Significance. Once one question was asked, the philosophical basis of Purusharthas. Here ultimately the philosophical basis is to bring about social control. Majority of the problems in our society are either for the sake of money or for the sake of females. That's why to regulate the problems because of artha and kama, our Hindu philosophical thinkers have created a higher value or have created a superior concept by name moksha. In order to achieve moksha, everyone has to achieve artha and kama by following the path of dharma. That's why when everyone tries to achieve moksha, definitely they will follow the path of dharma. That's why there will not be any dispute in the society. That's why there will be social control. That's it. Or simply you can mention like this. Whenever we follow the Purusharthas, or because of the inculcation of the concept of Purusharthas in the minds of the Hindus strongly in the traditional Indian society, social control was brought about. That's it. In the examination, presentation is very, very important. The second topic is runas. Here also you have to follow the same concept. First definition. According to traditional Indian philosophy, every Hindu is born with certain debts which he has to pay in his lifetime. These debts are called runas. In the textbook, for your understanding, lot of explanation will be there. You need not write entire explanation. Just mention like this. According to traditional Indian philosophy, every Hindu is born with certain debts which he has to pay in his lifetime. These debts are called runas. That's it. Generally, in your notes, in different textbooks, we used to mention types of runas. Types of runas. There are 4 types of runas according to traditional Indian philosophy. What are those runas? Daiva runa, Pitru runa, Guru runa and Atithi runa. Generally students have this tendency. According to traditional Indian philosophy, they used to write like this. According to traditional Indian philosophy, the runas are of 4 types. They used to write one after another. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the examination, you need not to write like this. Why? Because we have to save time. Everyone knows answers, but we have to write answers to all the questions within 3 hours of time. That's why instead of mentioning all those 4 runas, mention those 4 runas in the form of 4 subheadings. First subheading, Deva runa or Daiva runa. Then second subheading, Pitru runa. Third subheading, Guru runa or Rishi runa. and fourth subheading Atithi Runa. That's it. See, this is a 10 marks question. We have to draw certain boundaries to our answer. They are not going to mention anything. Write the importance of runas, like that they are not going to mention. Just they mention the name of the concept. In such circumstances, we have to draw certain boundaries. Here we have to write the definition. After that, in the types, we have to explain 4 runas in the form of subheadings. Under each and every subheading, write what is meant by so and so runa. Meaning you have to write. After that, how to pay. How to pay. That's it. We are indebted towards gods and goddesses because the entire universe is created by the gods and goddesses according to traditional Indian philosophy. That debt is called Devarana. We can pay that Devarana through the recitation of Vedas by performing pujas, yajnas, sacrifices, and by showing devotion in number of ways. That's it. Pitruna. Our physical existence is because of our parents. That's why one owes one's existence to their parents. That debt is called Pitruna. We can pay that Pitruna. How? By reverence, by showing reverence. First we have to respect them. There must be one sequence. First we should respect them. After that, by taking care of them whenever they are sick and old, by producing santana, and by offering pindadana. I told you previously, whenever there are certain points, you have to write one after another. See, Pitruna, it can be paid. You have to write like this. We can pay Pitruna, it can be paid in the form of points by showing reverence. That means respect, by showing reverence. In the beginning I am explaining in detail, but from next time onwards I am not going to explain like this. By taking care of them whenever they become old, by producing santana and making them good human beings of the society, and by offering pindadana. Whenever we have certain points, try to mention those points like this, one below another, so that examiner can be impressed. Similarly, Guru Runa. We are indebted towards the gurus or teachers because the darkness of the mind is removed because of the knowledge imparted by the gurus. Try to write like this only. We are going to give maximum information in a single statement. We are indebted towards the gurus because the darkness of the mind is removed because of the knowledge imparted by the gurus. That's it. We can pay the Guru Runa by showing reverence, by paying Guru Dakshana, and by the study and perpetuation of Vedas or various Shastras. Over. Atithi Runa. We are indebted towards the guests. Human beings are social animals. We cannot live in isolation. We constantly interact with each other. That's why we are indebted towards each other. That's it. We can pay the Atithi Runa by showing reverence. That means by respecting them and by serving them in the best possible manner. That's it. Over. After that, significance. When the obligation of paying these Guru Runas are strongly inculcated in the minds of the human beings, automatically there will be creation of a healthy social order because of creation of healthy social relations. There will be good relations between the parents and children, between the teachers and students, among different members of the society. And because of Devrana, the fear of supernatural punishment will bring about control of our behavior. You need not to give detailed explanation. The significance of the concept of runas is to bring about a healthy social order. That's it. In a single line also you can conclude. But if you put in the form of subheadings, then you will get very good marks. In the examination, when this question is given, you have to write definition, types. Under each and every type, you have to write what is the meaning, how to pay. At the time of paying these runas, you have to write different forms of paying those runas in the form of points one below the other, and finally significance. Then the next concept is karma and rebirth. Both are interlinked. The concept of karma was mentioned for the first time in the Upanishads. Karma stands for right action, and the concept of karma and rebirth is based on three doctrines or three pillars. They are a definite and unavoidable result, definite and unavoidable result. Second one is immortality of soul, immortality of soul, and third one is continuity. Whatever you want to explain, karma stands for actions. Actions are of two varieties, good actions and bad actions. To each and every action there will be one definite and unavoidable result. For good actions there will be good results, for bad actions there will be bad results. We may not receive the results of all our actions in the same janma or in the same birth. That's why we will take another birth. That means in order to take another birth, our soul is the form. There is death to our body, but not to the soul. Soul takes another birth in order to receive the results of the actions in the previous birth. Again in the next birth, they will be involved in certain actions. Again that cycle will be repeated. That's why there will be continuity between different births. That's why you have to explain in the form of subheadings, right? Like this. A concept you can explain, but you have to write like this. A definite and unavoidable result, immortality of soul, and continuity. In the form of 3 points, explain the concept of karma and rebirth. Actually, for your easy understanding, I mentioned like this karma and rebirth. In your syllabus, it is mentioned like this, runas and rebirth. Karma stands for action. Actions are of two varieties, good actions and bad actions. Payment of runas is good actions. When your actions are good actions, then you will be eligible to get the moksha. That means that soul will be liberated from the continuous cycle of birth and rebirth. After explaining the concept, write about the significance of this concept. Significance of this concept. What is the significance of this concept? It is responsible for motivating the people to lead a moral life. That means to follow the moral principles in their life. It is responsible for motivating the people to be involved in good actions and charitable activities. And it is responsible for making the people to follow the concept of individual responsibility. For your actions, for the results of your actions, you are responsible. If your actions are good actions, you will get good results. If your actions are bad actions, you will get bad results. That means it insists on individual responsibility. You are going to decide your destiny. That way it insists on individual responsibility. That's why it is responsible for active participation of the people in the different affairs of the society, so that there will be academic progress in the society. No one remains inactive in their life. That is the significance. And to this, if that concept is asked for 10 marks, if you write the concept and significance, that is sufficient. But sometimes from the concept of karma and rebirth, indirect questions may be asked. To the concept of karma and rebirth, there is criticism. There are 3 important points. One is, it is based on superstitions. It is based on superstitions. We don't know whether there is soul or not. That's why it is responsible for social backwardness of the country. Second one is, our present birth or our status in a particular birth is because of our actions in the previous birth. That means it is minimizing the importance of the present life. That means it is minimizing the importance of present life. Because of this, some people, not all the people, we can use the knife to cut the vegetables as well as to cut the throat. Am I correct or not? Similarly, here also some people, they started becoming lazy by saying that their parent status is because of their actions in the previous janma. That's why some people started remaining inactive. That is responsible for economic backwardness. When only people participate in academic activities, definitely there will be economic progress. And it is responsible for justifying the caste system. Caste system. Sometimes by taking a single criticism, a question can be asked. 2 years or 3 years back, one question was asked. The concept of karma and rebirth was responsible for justifying the caste system. Discuss. That was the question. Based on single criticism. Here, in the caste, then you have to write like this. In the caste system, there is hierarchy. In the hierarchy, some castes were given higher position, some castes were given lower position. To the higher caste, number of privileges were given, and the lower caste, number of disabilities were imposed. The lower caste people started accepting this discrimination because of this fatalistic tendency or because of the concept of karma and rebirth. They started accepting that their birth in lower caste is because of their actions in the previous janma. That's why they did not revolt against the dominance of the higher caste. Like that, you have to give explanation. Sometimes by taking a single statement, they may give questions. That's why I am explaining. I explained the criticism also here. Under normal circumstances, you need not to give criticism unless they ask it specifically. This is about the concept of karma and rebirth. And the next concept is Ashrama System. According to traditional Indian philosophy, the life of every Hindu is divisible into 4 stages. They are called ashramas. Those ashramas are nothing but brahmacharya ashram, grihastha ashram, vanaprastha ashram, and sannyasa ashram. Then I need not give explanation about ashrama system, brahmacharya ashram, grihastha ashram, vanaprastha ashram, and sannyasa ashram. Brahmacharya ashram starts with Upanayana ceremony. In this stage, an individual will be trained by his guru in order to enable him to perform his duties in the later stages of his life. In this stage, the student has to lead the life of discipline, piety, that means strict adherence to religious rules, following the path of dharma. That's it. If you write those 3 points, that is sufficient. Grihastha ashram, when the guru certifies that the boy is now a man and he is fit to enter the next stage, the parents initiate that boy into the next stage, that is grihastha ashram, through another ceremony, that is vivah. In this stage, the basic trilogy of dharma, artha, and kama will be translated into action. All the runas will be paid. That's it. If you write these 2 sentences, that is sufficient. If you want to add value to your answer, you can mention. According to Manu, this stage is full of bliss and blessings. Lot of enjoyment will be there, lot of blessings will be there. Why? Because the basic trilogy of dharma, artha, and kama will be translated into action. Then they will be eligible to get moksha, and runas will be paid. That means they are involved in good actions. That's why again they become eligible for getting moksha. But sometimes question may be asked like this: importance of grihastha ashrama. When the question is asked on importance of grihastha ashrama, you have to elaborate these 2 points only. The basic trilogy of dharma, artha, and kama will be translated into action. Then write what is meant by dharma, what is meant by artha, what is meant by kama, what happens if those 3 work in coordination with each other. Similarly, write about runas also. There are 4 runas. We have to pay in the grihastha stage, these runas will be paid. That's why they will be eligible to get moksha. Whenever the question is asked like this, importance of grihastha ashrama, then those 2 sentences only, the basic trilogy of dharma, artha, kama will be translated into action, the runas will be paid. Those 2 sentences have to be elaborated. Okay. Otherwise, you need not to explain. Vanaprastha ashram, this is preparatory stage to the ultimate retirement stage. Here, an individual relinquishes his household duties, devotes his time for the sake of religious pursuits. An individual can retreat into the nearest forest and can lead a life of meditation. In this stage, he can be accompanied by his wife, but there must be practice of celibacy, that means abstinence from sex. That's it. Sannyasa, it is the ultimate retirement stage. In this stage, an individual ceases to be the member of the society. He keeps on moving from one place to another place, and he keeps on preaching the truth of the life, that there is nothing in the life. He explains how to become oblivious of sorrows and sufferings. Oblivious means how to avoid all those problems, how to get rid of these sufferings. If we write those points, that is sufficient. Understood? Purusharthas, you have to write the definition, 4 types, and significance. Rinas, you have to write definition, 4 types, and each and every type, what is the meaning, how to pay, and finally significance. Karma and rebirth, you have to give brief introduction, what is meant by karma. After that, you have to explain the concept of karma and rebirth with the help of 3 pillars. What are those 3 pillars? A definite and unavoidable result, immortality of soul, and continuity of cycle. After that, significance. But depending upon the question, sometimes criticism may be asked. Then Ashrama system, you have to write. For the Ashrama system, there is no concept of significance, just for a regulated life and for imparting education, everything in different stages in the life. Our Hindu philosophical thinkers divided the life into 4 stages. Here there is no concept of significance, but systematic classification. Ashrama system, right? What is the meaning of Ashrama system? Write about those 4 stages, one after another briefly. That is sufficient. But the point that you have to remember is, from the Ashrama system, question may be asked like this: importance of Grihastha Ashrama. Then you have to write what is meant by Grihastha Ashrama stage and why it is important. Then at the end, you have to add 2 points. According to Bhagavad Gita, a karma yogi is a sannyasa. That means a man of action is a sannyasa. That means we need not to adopt the sannyasa stage formally. If you perform all your actions in the previous stages, automatically you will become sannyasa. We will perform all our actions in which stage? Grihastha stage only. We will translate the dharma, the kama into action. We will pay all the runas. That's why Grihastha Ashrama is important. Even Kautilya also prescribes punishment for those people who want to adopt sannyasa stage directly without fulfilling their obligations in the previous stage. Why? Because Grihastha Ashrama is important. Without fulfilling their obligations in the Grihastha Ashrama, if someone wants to achieve moksha by adopting sannyasa stage, they are not going to get moksha. Okay. This is about 3.1. Now let us start 3.2. Caste system. 3.2 Caste system. First, let us discuss characteristics of caste system. Characteristics of caste system. And the characteristics of caste system, we have number of books, but for your exam, if you write some points, that is sufficient. So far, not even a single question was asked, but you have to know about the characteristics. I am going to explain briefly. First one is name. Every caste has a name. Second one is membership. Membership. In every caste, the membership is by birth. That means the status is an ascriptive status. Then endogamy, the most important characteristic. Marriage within one's own group. After that, hierarchy. Hierarchy. After that, commensality, sharing or acceptance of food. After that, occupational restrictions. Occupational restrictions. After that, privileges and disabilities. Privileges and disabilities. Then caste councils. If the question is asked by chance, so far not even a single question was asked. If a question is asked on the characteristics of the caste system, if you write these 8 points, that is sufficient. Okay. Write about the characteristics in the form of subheadings. Okay. In the caste system, there are a number of concepts. We will discuss important concepts. The next one is theories on the origin of caste system. Theories on the origin of caste system. Theories on the origin of caste system. Generally, to explain theories on the caste system, it will take minimum 1.5 hours. But I will mention briefly There are different theories on the origin of caste system. First one is traditional Varna theory. Traditional Varna theory. Second one is racial theory. Third one is functional or occupational theory. Fourth one is racial and functional theory. Fifth one is guild theory. Sixth one is religious theory. Seventh one is mana theory. Eighth one is political theory. Ninth one is evolutionary theory or composite theory. Here, generally our students, they used to mention like this. Traditional Varna theory, it was mentioned in Purusharthas of Rigveda. Racial theory, it was proposed by Herbert Ressley. Functional theory, it was proposed by Nesfield. Like this, they used to mention. Like this, if you want to mention the name of the propounder, then ultimately you have to write 9 sentences. That's why in the examination, don't write like this. After putting subheading, just mention the name of the propounder in bracket. That is sufficient. You need not to give complete statement. This theory was mentioned in Purusha Sukta of Rigveda. Why? Because in our exam we have only 3 types of questions: 10 marks questions, 15 marks questions and 20 marks questions. That's why we have to write answers within 12 minutes or 15 minutes. For a 20 marks question, you have to write answer in 250 to 300 words. To explain 9 theories in 250 to 300 words is not an easy task. That's why you have to find the ways through which we can cut short the answer. Just mention Purusha Sukta of Rigveda. You need not to explain the theory in detail. Why? Because there are many theories. If there are 2 or 3 theories, you can explain. If there are many theories, briefly explain, just in 3 or 4 sentences. Examiner also expects brief explanation only. Traditional Varna theory, just mention Purusha Sukta of Rigveda in the bracket. According to this theory, 4 major castes, that means Brahmin, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, were produced from 4 different parts of the Brahma. Later, because of the, please remember, in almost all the cases you have to write like this. Because of the practice of hypergamy and hypogamy, different other castes came into existence from these 4 major castes. That is sufficient. You need not to explain from the mouth Brahmins were produced, from the shoulder Kshatriyas were produced. Why? Because time will not permit us. Then racial theory. According to Herbert Ressley, Aryans invaded India. They came to India as conquerors, but in the Aryans' native society, they have 4-fold division of the society. They implanted the same social structure in Indian society. That's it. If you want to mention what are those 4-fold divisions, what are the names of those 4-fold divisions in the Persia, the native place of these Aryans, according to Herbert Ressley, and what are the 4 divisions in India, if you can mention. Functional theory, according to Nesfield, the people practice different occupations. The people who have been practicing different occupations, they started following different ways of life. That's why different occupational groups with different ways of life came into existence to preserve the trade secrets or occupational secrets, and to avoid the problems in the adjustments for the females after the marriage. They started arranging marriage within the same group. That's why different endogamous occupational groups came into existence. Later, because of the practice of hypergamy and hypogamy, many other castes came into existence. That's it. Racial and functional theory. And because of the Aryans, all the people were divided into Aryans and non-Aryans. Because of the invasion of Aryans, the Aryans followed clean occupations, non-Aryans followed unclean occupations. Within the Aryans, again, occupational specialization. That's why Brahmin, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas. That's it. Then guild theory. According to Dengel Ibbotson, castes came into existence because of the interaction of 3 forces. They are tribes, guilds and religion. Tribes are adopted certain fixed professions. In due course of time, they were transformed into guilds. In the ancient Indian society, priests had very good prestige in the society. They were the hereditary occupational groups. following their president, these guilds also practiced endogamy. That's why guilds were transformed into castes. Later, because of hypergamy and hypogamy, number of castes came into existence. This is a common statement. It's not possible for us in what way hypergamy and hypogamy is responsible for the origin of many castes. In the classes, for your understanding, we will explain. But in the examination, if you write that sentence, that is sufficient. Because of the practice of hypergamy and hypogamy, many other castes came into existence. That's it. Religious theory, according to Hocart and Sennett, religion is responsible for the origin of different castes. According to Hocart, religion has prominent place in the ancient Indian society. King was considered as the image of the god. King divided different occupations among different groups of people for the sake of easy administration. These occupational groups in course of time were converted into different castes. That's it. Then according to Sennett, those people who worship a particular deity and who offer a particular sacramental meal, they started arranging marriage within the same group. In due course of time, they were converted into castes. That's it. Political theory. According to G.S. Gurian, caste system is the brainchild of the Brahmins in order to maintain their dominance. In the caste hierarchy, above the Kshatriyas, the Brahmins are placed. Why? Because to maintain their dominance. The king's position is also justified by the Brahmins. That's why the kings have to accept the theories given by the Brahmins. That's why it is a Brahmanical brainchild. The system was devised by the Brahmins in order to maintain their political supremacy. And evolutionary theory, according to Dengel Ibbetson and according to Houghton, different factors. Caste system did not come into existence because of any one of these factors, because of many factors. Caste system evolved gradually over a period of time because of interaction of many factors. If you write briefly like this, that is sufficient. Sometimes questions may be asked, critically examine the theories on the origin of caste system. Then you have to write the criticism. It's not possible for me to give criticism to all the theories. The material it is there, go through it. Okay. The next topic is dominant caste. Dominant caste. From the dominant caste, questions will be asked in two ways. One is 10 marks question, directly like this. Dominant caste, that's it. Sometimes they may ask specific question. Explain or discuss the influence of dominant caste. Critically examine the concept of dominant caste. Like that they may ask. First let us discuss the concept briefly. After that we will discuss what are the points that are to be mentioned in 10 marks questions, what are the points that are to be mentioned in long answer questions. I am not going to give detailed explanation. First, whether it is 10 marks question or a long answer question, first you have to give introduction. Introduction means we should not give any introduction. Introduction should be in the form of the contributor who introduces this concept and through which paper or through which work they introduced this concept. You have to write like this. The concept of dominant caste was studied or was introduced by M.N. Srinivas. In his works, The Social System of a Mysore Village, Dominant Caste in Rampura. After carrying out his field work in a village by name Rampura in the Mysore region. See, here there are many tasks. We are converting all of them into a single statement. Who studied this concept or who introduced this concept? In which works he introduced this concept? Where he conducted his field work? Instead of writing 3 different points, we are going to combine all the 3 points in the form of single introductory statement. The concept of dominant caste was introduced by M.N. Srinivas in his works, The Social System of a Mysore Village, Dominant Caste in Rampura, after carrying out his field work in Rampura village, the Mysore region. That's it. After giving that introduction, you have to give the definition. See, in the definition itself, M.N. Srinivas mentioned certain criteria for a caste to become dominant. You can write in two ways. You can mention those 4 criteria, or you can mention all those criteria in the definition itself. Actually, M.N. Srinivas has given one definition in 1955, later he added one more element. We are not going to explain. First he gave this definition, later he added this component. That is only for your understanding. In different textbooks they will mention like that. But in the examination you have to write like this. According to M.N. Srinivas, a caste is said to be dominant whenever it preponderates numerically over other castes, when it also wields preponderant economic and political power, provided its status in the local caste hierarchy is not too low. This sentence is important. Along with the presence of Western element or non-traditional element. I have incorporated 4 elements in the definition itself. What are those elements? Numerical preponderance, economic and political preponderance, ritual status not too low in the local caste hierarchy, and non-traditional element or Western element. If you give definition, you need not to mention the criteria. Why? Because you are going to repeat the same content. That's why in the examination you have to mention like this. A caste is said to be dominant whenever it preponderates numerically over other castes, when it also wields preponderant economic and political power, provided its status in the local caste hierarchy is not too low, along with the presence of Western element. That's it. If you give that definition, you need not to mention the criteria. Okay. After that, write about the influence. Dominant caste exercises its influence over a vast majority of people in the villages. It exhibits more concern for social superiority, even though it is not so in the ritual superiority. Ritual superiority means, as per the ancient literature or sacred literature, they are given one position in the caste hierarchy. Even though they are low in the ritual hierarchy, socially they want to maintain their dominance. So you have to write those points. They exhibit more concern for social superiority. Here you can give examples. In the Punjab, Jats treat Brahmins as menials. If you go to Uttar Pradesh, Thagurs, the dominant caste, they won't accept water also from the Brahmins. In Karnataka, Vakkaligas are the dominant caste people. The Brahminic priests give Harati first to the Vakkaligas before others have it. These are the examples. Depending upon the quantum of marks allotted to that particular question, you can give 1 or 2 examples. Example, case studies, all are same. Don't bother about it. Okay. Dominant caste exhibits more concern for social superiority. It acts as a model for sensitization. Then you can give number of examples. In sensitization concept we will discuss. It imposes and maintains social restrictions. In some textbooks, even in our material also, it is mentioned like this. Dominant caste acts as a watchdog of culture. The underlying meaning is the dominant caste imposes and maintains the social restrictions. There is one example or case study. In 1930, there was a conflict in Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, there is one district by name Ramnad district. In Ramnad district, Kallar caste is the dominant. It was the dominant caste. There was a conflict between Kallar community and the Adi Dravidians there. Adi Dravidians were the untouchables there. Then in that conflict, ultimately, the Adi Dravidians were forced to subordinate to the dominant caste people, and they imposed certain restrictions. The Adi Dravidians, both males and females, should not wear clothes above the level of the waist. Women should not keep flowers in their locks. They should not apply sandal paste to their body. Men should not crop their hair. They should not use sandals also. They should not use umbrellas. Even they should not crop their hair also. And they should use only earthen made plates. Like there are certain restrictions are mentioned. Depending upon the marks allotted to that particular question, you have to decide in the examination hall whether to give detailed explanation to that example or not. Then dominant caste secures economic benefits to its followers or to its members. Dominant caste acts as a patron to the poor. The biggest patron of the village is almost always from the dominant caste. it monopolizes administrative positions. In the olden days, when the Panchayat Raj Act was not passed, almost the Panchayat head was from the dominant caste only. Lower caste never dared to participate in the elections. Then they secure economic benefits to its followers. So, economic already I mentioned. And they influence the decisions of the Panchayats. They influence the decisions of the caste councils. Majority of the land in the villages was under the control of dominant caste people. The lower caste people were employed in the fields of the dominant caste people. They used to pay a low amount, that means low remuneration, that means underpayment, forced labor. Even some dominant caste people, they used to gratify their sexual desire with the women of the lower caste people. Even in such circumstances also, the lower caste people, they never opened their mouth and they never approached the police stations also, because the dominant caste people, they used to settle the disputes in the villages only. If you write those points, that is sufficient. Then significance of this concept. The concept of the dominant caste is useful for us to understand the hierarchy of relations in the villages. It is useful for us to understand the settlement of disputes in the villages. It is useful for us to understand the patterns of sensitization. What is sensitization? Imitation of the lifestyle of the upper caste by the lower caste people. What are the different patterns? We have 4 models of sensitization: Brahmanic model, Kshatriya model, Vaishya model and Shudra model. So which pattern is prevalent in which area? To understand the patterns of socialization, that is important. Now see, if you have this content, questions may be asked in different ways. When the question is mentioned like this, a dominant caste, 10 marks, then you have to write introduction, definition, influence. Under the influence, you have to write these points. You need not to give many examples. Influence, write in the form of points. After that, significance. Okay. But sometimes question may be asked, examine the concept of dominant caste, or critically examine the concept of dominant caste. Sometimes question may be asked like this: explain the influence of dominant caste. Explain the influence of dominant caste. First, let us discuss this question. Explain the influence of dominant caste. And the question is asked, they are specifying very clearly what they are asking: influence. Then you have to write, the influence of dominant caste is explained by M.N. Srinivas in his works, The Dominant Caste in Rampura, the Social System of a Mysore Village. The influence of dominant caste as explained by M.N. Srinivas is as follows. Then write these points. Emphasis should be on these points. Then give more examples, more explanation. Understood? If it is asked for 10 marks, write about these statements. That is sufficient. But if they ask specifically explain the influence of dominant caste, you have to write the influence of dominant caste was explained by M.N. Srinivas in his so-and-so concepts. It is as follows. Then write about same points but a detailed explanation. More examples you have to give. Okay. Sometimes questions may be asked like this. Critically examine the influence of dominant caste. Critically examine the influence of a dominant caste. They are asking us to examine the influence of dominant caste, that too from a critical point of view. Let's say first examine the influence. That means you have to write the influence of dominant caste briefly. After that you have to concentrate on criticism. According to M.N. Srinivas, numerical preponderance is one of the criteria to become for a caste to become dominant, but it may not always work. If you go to Andhra Pradesh, Reddys and Kammas are considered as dominant caste people, but their population is only 6 to 8%. That means less than 10%. That's why numerical preponderance may not be a criteria. Entire caste may not be a dominant caste. Only a clan may be a dominant clan. Sometimes only particular lineage may be dominant, sometimes only certain families of a particular caste may be dominant. With examples you have to mention. In the material and different textbooks, examples are also there. According to dominant caste concept of M.N. Srinivas, dominant caste acts as a model for sensitization. But in some cases, dominant caste is not the model for sensitization. Brahmins may act as the model for sensitization. Like this, and according to M.N. Srinivas, dominant caste secures economic benefits to its followers, and M.N. Srinivas neglected the concept of presence of factions among the dominant caste people. If we go to Rayalaseema of Andhra Pradesh, we can come across factions. In factions, both the opponents will be Reddys only. Now, one group want to suppress the other group. Now, the form of opposition, the form of taking revenge over the other group is changed. When one group or when one faction want to dominate over the other, they want to destroy their economic base. In such circumstances, how can we say that dominant caste secures economic benefits to its members? One faction is responsible for the destruction of another faction economically. That's why that is also not possible. Sometimes pressure groups. See, in a particular village, all the landlords from different castes may form one group. All the agricultural laborers who are belonging to different castes, they may form one group. That means here the groups are not formed on the basis of the caste. Pressure groups are there. That's why you have to mention like this. Dominant caste ignore the presence of factions. According to M.N. Srinivas' dominant caste concept, dominant caste secures economic benefits to its members, but it is not true with respect to the factions and many other cases. Dominant caste concept ignore the presence of pressure groups also. If you give that criticism, that is sufficient. Here you have to write. Here the question is critically examine the influence. They are asking us to explain the influence. And after that, we have to identify what are the drawbacks in that concept. That's why in your answer, divide the answer into 50-50. 50% on influence, 50% on criticism. Understood? Questions may be asked like this. The next concept is Jasmani system. Jasmani system. In this Jasmani system, first you have to know who introduces that concept, where he studied, which concept, that means introduction. After that, a definition. After that, characteristics. After that, nature. After that, present status. In the concept of Jasmani system, you have to know these components. Okay. The concept of Jasmani system was studied by William Weiser in a village by name Karimpur in Uttar Pradesh, and it was present in a book by name The Hindu Jasmani System. The concept of Jasmani system was introduced by William Weiser in his book The Hindu Jasmani System after carrying out his field work in Karimpura, Uttar Pradesh. That is introduction. After that, definition. Please remember, definitions are important for this concept. You have to practice these definitions. For making you to recollect the definition so easily, I will repeat the definitions. We are going to discuss the definitions of three people. One is Herald Gaud. Second one is Yogendra Singh. Third one is Ram Mahajan. There are many other definitions, but these are easy to remember. There is some logic. According to Herald Gaud, it is an intercaste, interfamilial relationship pertaining to the patterning of superordinate and subordinate relations between patrons and suppliers of services. Upper caste people are patrons, lower caste people are suppliers of services. In between those people, there is superordinate subordinate relationship in the form of a particular pattern, and those relations are on the basis of caste relationship and family relationship. That's why it is an intercaste, interfamilial relationship pertaining to the patterning of superordinate and subordinate relations between the patrons and suppliers of services, or between the patrons and commons. That is first definition. Second one is Yogendra Singh definition. It is very simple. Ultimately, in the judgment system, there will be exchange of goods and services between the judgments and commons. Judgments are the upper caste people, commons are the lower caste people who provide their services. Here, there is give and take phenomena. Upper caste people, lower caste people provide their services. Upper caste people, they will give money, payment and some other supports. That means here there is reciprocity. This system was established in the villages from times immemorial. That's why it is a system governed by a relationship based on reciprocity in intercaste relations in the villages. Very simple. It's a system governed by a relationship based on reciprocity in intercaste relations in the villages. That's it. Ramahuja. So very simple. Nowadays, because of globalization, villages were opened up. Once upon a time, all these things were not there. Villages were closed. In such circumstances, for the support of each and every group, they devised this system. Land owning families were there. For them, services were required. Landless families, they require employment. That's why they created this system. And it was mutually beneficial. That's why the system survived. That's why it is a durable relationship. It is a durable relationship between a land owning family and number of landless families that supply them with goods and services. Very simple. Once again I am repeating, Harold Gould defined that it is an intercaste, interfamilial relationship pertaining to the patterning of superordinate and subordinate relations between patrons and commons or suppliers of services. According to Yogendra Singh, it's a system governed by a relationship based on reciprocity in intercaste relations in the villages. According to Ramahuja, it's a durable relationship between a land-owning family and number of landless families that supply them with goods and services. In the examination, depending upon the question, generally if you give one definition, that is sufficient. Then what are the characteristics? In the definition itself, characteristics are there. It's an intercaste relationship. Patrons belong to land owning higher caste, commons or suppliers of services belong to landless lower caste. It's an interfamilial relationship. Interfamilial relationship. In this system, the relationship is between two families but not between two individuals. Thakur family, upper caste people in the Uttar Pradesh, Dhobi family. The obligation of the Thakur family towards the Dhobi family is passed from one generation to another generation. It is the relationship between two families. It is an intercaste relationship, it is an interfamilial relationship. Payments. Payments are made generally at the end of the season. Payments are made generally at the end of the season, generally in the form of kind. Kind means grains, different varieties of food grains. Apart from that, some payment will be made in the form of money also. Apart from that, other supports will be given. Whenever the commons are in requirement, they will give different helps. Whenever they are ill health, they will give money. At the time of school admission, they will give their help. Like this, payments are generally given either in the form of cash or in the form of kind or in the form of both, generally at the end of the season. Apart from this, regular payments, on different occasions, the judgments provide different helps to the commons. Apart from this, apart from these economic arrangements, there will be other relations. It does not always involve economic considerations. It does not always involve economic considerations. Economic considerations. Commons help judgments at number of occasions without expecting the returns. Similarly, judgments also. And at the same time, commons are given freedom to have their judgment-like relationship with many other people. That means freedom to the commons are there. Freedom to commons. And finally, the entire system operates in a normative context. Certain rules and regulations are there. If there is any dispute between the judgments and commons, they will bring that issue to the notice of the village panchayats or caste councils and they will settle the disputes. So these points you have to mention. It is an intercaste relationship, it is an interfamily relationship, payments are made generally in the form of kind or cash or both at the end of the season. It does not always involve economic considerations. Commons are given freedom to have their judgment-like arrangements with many other people, and entire system operates in a normative context. Nature. As far as the nature is concerned, we have difference of opinion among different anthropologists. According to here, you have to mention names of some anthropologists. According to Bedelman and Burnow. According to Bedelman and Burnow, that system is basically exploitative. Why? Because dominant caste people, they used to pay very less remuneration to the lower caste people for their services, and sometimes there will be forced labor. Dominant caste people, whenever they require the service of the lower caste people, they used to force them even though they are not willing. That's why according to Bedelman and Burnow, that system is exploitative because it involves the element of underpayment and forced labor. Underpayment and forced labor. According to many other anthropologists like Pauline Kolinda, Ramahuja, it is basically non-exploitative. Why? Because there is an element of mutual interdependence, mutual benefits, mutual interdependence. Second one is entire system operates in a normative context. That means certain rules and regulations are there. If there is any problem between the judgments and comments, they will bring that issue to the notice of the village council. They will settle the dispute. Traditions, traditional norms bind the judgments to be paternalistic. That means traditional norms bind they impose, according to traditions, the judgments, they have to behave like that of fathers with respect to the commons. Traditional norms bind the judgments to be paternalistic, and at the same time the commons are given freedom. They can have their own judgment like relationship with many other people. That means freedom to the commons are there. Freedom to commons. If you know all these points in a single page at the time of exam, revision is also very, very easy. And after that, the present status. Once upon a time there was no globalization, villages were close relatively. That's why the people have to find employment within the same village. Now that relative isolation of the villages came to an end. That's why the dependence of the lower caste and upper caste was decreasing. And what are the factors that are responsible? Then you have to write the Jasmine system is now gradually declining because of so and so factors. What are those factors? Monetization of the economy. We started valuing everything in terms of money. Emergence of commercial attitude. All these are there in the material. Monetization of the economy, emergence of commercial attitude, availability of ready-made goods, establishment of banks and cooperative institutions in the villages, integration of rural markets with the urban markets, migration of the commons to the urban centers in search of better employment opportunities, weakening of association between caste and occupation, and emergence of caste consciousness and political awareness among the lower caste people. These are the factors. Now, if you have these points, questions may be asked like this. Jasmine system, direct question. When the question is asked directly like this, then write what is meant by Jasmine system definition. After that, characteristics. After that, present status. That is sufficient. Definition, characteristics and present status. Whenever the Jasmine system is asked for 10 marks. But generally, from the Jasmine system, long answer questions will be asked. They will mention very clearly to explain either the characteristics or nature or the present status. You have to write on those points. Okay. Now let us discuss the next concept. Feature of the caste system. Feature of the caste system. even though we have different opinions on the future of the caste system, the existing socio-political conditions are responsible or are favoring the continuity of the caste system. You have to write like this: even though we have different opinions with regard to the future of the caste system, the existing socio-political conditions are favoring the continuity of the caste system. Those factors are as follows. 5 factors are there. You have to explain those 5 factors. One is caste provides an identity and social base to an individual. Identity and social base. Second one is caste has tremendous adaptability, adjustment. Caste is adjusting to the changed circumstances. Third one is caste is acting as a vote bank. Caste is acting as a vote bank. Fourth one is caste based reservations. Caste based reservations are responsible for maintaining the caste based consciousness. And finally, women. In India, because of the division of labor, most of the times women will take care of the domestic activities. That's why maintaining the sanctity of the house is their responsibility. That's why they would like to preserve the culture. They would like to maintain the traditional norms and customs. That's why whenever they try to maintain the traditional norms and customs, through these women only, these characteristics will be transmitted to the next generation. Generally through mother only we will learn different characters. When the woman assigned with the task of they maintain the sanctity of the house, automatically they maintain the traditions. Because of the maintenance of the traditions, through them all the caste related characteristics or traditions or rigidities will be transmitted to the next generation. These 5 points you have to write. That is sufficient. One more concept is there: Tribecast Continuum. Tribecast Continuum. This can be asked for 10 marks or long answer question. The concept of Tribecast Continuum was introduced by Bailey in his book Tribe, Caste and Nation. Tribe, caste and nation, after studying the Varian society and Cone society. That means after carrying out his field work in Orissa. Then give the definition. Definitions you have to practice. If you want to score more than 300 marks, you have to practice. What is tribe caste continuum? It is a polar ideal type of construction. That means poles exist only in ideal terms. It is a polar ideal type of construction, which implies that no society precisely corresponds to the description of the extreme ends. According to Bailey, we cannot consider tribe and caste as two different ends. They are considered as tribe and caste as two different entities. They are considered as two ends of a single line. And if you want to place any society in that line, it can be placed either close to the caste end or close to the tribe end, but not exactly at the caste end or at the tribe end. That is given in the form of definition like this. It is a polar ideal type of construction, which implies that no society precisely corresponds to the description of the extreme ends, but fall nearer to the one end or the other or in between. In the examination, definition you have to write as such. It is a polar ideal type of construction, which implies that no society precisely corresponds to the description of either to the description of both the ends and fall in between. You have to give that definition. After that, you have to give explanation about that concept. According to Bailey, a tribe is a society based on segmental solidarity. That means everyone is equal. A caste is a society based on organic solidarity. Organic solidarity means there will be dominant subordinate relationship will be there. According to Bailey, there is neither a pure caste nor a pure tribe. Pure tribe and pure caste exist only in ideal terms. All these societies can be placed either nearer to the caste end or nearer to the tribe end, or they can be placed in between depending upon the degree of the segmental solidarity and organic solidarity. If any society is having more segmental solidarity, it can be placed more nearer to tribal end. If any society is having more organic solidarity, it can be placed more near to the caste end. If you give that explanation, that is sufficient. What is the significance of this concept? When our anthropologists were grappling with the problem of demarcating tribe from the caste, our F.G. Bailey Tribecast Continuum settled that problem. How? It is not possible for us to demarcate caste from a tribe. Why? Because both can be considered as part of a single continuous line. There is no pure tribe, there is no pure caste. That is the significance. If we can demarcate, definitely, see, depending upon the degree of solidarity, if more segmental solidarity is there, then we can say that more tribal characteristics are there. If there is more organic solidarity, we can say that more caste characteristics. Accordingly, we can decide whether to recognize them as tribals or not. That is the significance. When the Indian anthropologists were grappling with the problem of demarcation between the tribe and caste, our F.G. Bailey solved that problem by saying that it's not possible for us to demarcate. Why? Because both are considered as two ends of a single continuous line. If you consider any society, that society will have both the characteristics, some tribal characteristics and some caste characteristics. Definitely, we cannot see a society which is having 100% segmental characteristic, 100% organic characteristics. In any society, we can come across both the solidarities, but the degree of solidarity may vary. More segmental solidarity means more tribal characteristic, more organic solidarity means more caste characteristics. Accordingly, we will decide their identity, whether they belong to tribal people or caste people, accordingly ST status. That is the significance. Sometimes questions may be asked. Discuss the concept of Tribecast Continuum with suitable illustrations. You have to give explanation. Explanation with case study. Case study. Or Bailey studied the Varian villages and cones. Varian villages and cones from three different dimensions. In the Varian villages, we can come across dominant subordinate relationship. In the Varian villages, we can come across dominant subordinate relationship. In the Varian villages, we can come across number of groups. Those groups are nothing but castes. In the caste, we can come across hierarchy, upper caste people, lower caste people. Under the control of upper caste people, lot of land is there. And in the fields of upper caste people, lower caste people were dominant subordinate relationship was there. In the cones village, cones, they used to live in the form of villages. To each and every village there will be one common property. One can get a right to carry out cultivation on a particular piece of village land by becoming a member of that particular tribe, but not by subordinating to anyone. Here, the right to get a particular piece of land is not by subordination to anyone, but by becoming a member of that group. That means here segmental solidarity is there. That's why in the first interpretation, according to Bailey, in the cones, segmental solidarity is there. In the Varian villages, organic solidarity was there. This is the majority of the people we can come across this relationship. When he made microscopic analysis, he found that in the Varian villages also we can come across one small group by name Panos. In the cones villages. The Panos remove the dead cattle. Because of removing the dead cattle and for carrying out other unclean occupations, the Panos were given some piece of land to carry out cultivation. That means there is dominant subordinate relationship, but those relations are very less. Majority of the people are cones, and among them we can come across segmental solidarity, but few number of people belong to panos. Between the panos and the remaining people we can come across dominant subordinate relationship. The majority of the relations are on the basis of segmental solidarity, but few relations, that means the relationship between the cones and the panos, are on the basis of organic solidarity. And in the variant villages we can come across dominant caste people, one below the other, dominant caste people, intermediate caste people, lower caste people in one village. Similarly in another village. If we consider all the villages as a single totality, what is the relationship among the upper caste people? They are considered as equals. That's why here we can come across segmental solidarity. In the detailed analysis or microscopic analysis, we found that in the variant villages also there are segmental solidarity. That's why we cannot say that cones are purely tribals, variants are purely caste people. These people have segmental solidarity and organic solidarity, but majority of the relations are on the basis of organic solidarity. That's why this society can be placed more nearer to caste end. In the cones, we can come across majority of the relations on the segmental solidarity and the remaining relations on the basis of organic solidarity. That's why this can be placed more nearer to tribal end. And the third orientation is within the cones. Cones, they used to live in the form of villages. When the population of a particular village increases, the cones of one village used to migrate and they used to settle in another village after taking permission. As these people are giving shelter to these are immigrants. These immigrants, they used to maintain agnatic ties, that means brotherly relations. That's why segmental solidarity was there. But when the British people established their authority, the Varian chiefs appointed Varian chiefs, that means Varian caste people, as the heads of these villages. That's why these immigrants, they want to maintain good relations with the Varian chief. That's why instead of maintaining their relations with the native people of this village, they maintain dominant subordinate relationship. These native people, they lost their lands because of the intrigues planned by these people. They migrated to adjacent Varian villages and they started working in the lands of the Varian chiefs. That means here also dominant subordinate relationship. Once upon a time in the cones, all the relations were on the basis of segmental solidarity. Now what happened? Organic solidarity came into existence. Now my question is, this is with respect to space, this is with respect to time. Once upon a time in the cones villages, segmental solidarity is there. After the establishment of authority by the British people, that segmental solidarity was decreased and organic solidarity came into existence. That's why sometimes some questions may be asked. There is neither a pure tribe nor a pure caste. Discuss. That is the question. Or is there a pure tribe? Or is there a pure caste? This type of questions may be asked. Then you have to write, there is neither a pure tribe nor a pure caste. It can be explained best with the help of Tribecast Continuum concept of LGBD. Then take this case study and explain. Sometimes question may be asked, there is neither a pure tribe nor a pure caste, both spatially as well as temporally. When the question is asked and spatially, the first two dimensions indicate that there is neither a pure tribe nor a pure caste spatially. Third dimension indicates there is neither a pure tribe nor a pure caste temporally. Okay. This is about Tribecast Continuum. What is the relevance of Tribecast Continuum? Once upon a time, to demarcate a tribe from a caste, this Tribecast Continuum concept was introduced. More the segmental solidarity, more the tribal characteristics, then the tribal status can be recognized. Now, because of the end to the relative isolation of the tribal people, because of the developmental activities brought about by the government, the isolation of the tribal people came to an end. Those tribal people came into contact with the adjacent Hindu people, and because of the following of this sensitization and because of the adoption of the lifestyle of the Hindus, they were completely absorbed into the Hindu system. That's why they got a new recognition. In such circumstances, how to decide about their tribal status? That's why this system, even though it was found useful in the beginning, now it has lost its relevance. Okay. Sometimes question may be asked, the significance of this Tribecast Continuum. In the beginning, it has very good significance. Now, because of the acculturation of the tribal people, or because of the assimilation of the tribal people into the fold of Hinduism, it has become a useless concept. It has been becoming. This is about Tribecast Continuum. This is about 3.2. Now let us discuss 3.3. In 3.3 we have only two concepts. One is sacred complex. Second one is NMS complex. NMS complex. First let us discuss sacred complex. It can be asked either for 10 marks or for 15 or 20 marks. If it is asked for 10 marks, you have to write like this. Introduction. After that, definition. After that, the concept. After that, significance. Significance. Please remember, both the concepts were put forward by LP Vidyarthi. Both the concepts in this section. The concept of sacred complex was introduced by LP Vidyarthi in his book, The Sacred Complex of Hindu Gaya, after carrying out his fieldwork in Gaya city. Once again I am repeating, the concept of sacred complex was introduced by LP Vidyarthi in his book, The Sacred Complex of Hindu Gaya, after carrying out his fieldwork in Gaya city. That's it. That is introduction. After that, definition. You have to give definition. Sacred complex is the pattern of life of a sacred city which emerged because of fusion of sacred geography, sacred performances and sacred specialists. In sacred complex we have three components: sacred geography, sacred performances and sacred specialists. Thus, because of the interaction of these three, a particular way of life can be seen in a particular sacred city. That is nothing but sacred complex. Here complex means it is a way of life. That's why in the definition you have to write like this. Sacred complex is the pattern of life of a sacred city which emerged because of the fusion of sacred geography, sacred performances and sacred specialists. That's it. Then you have to explain the concept. In the concept of sacred complex we have three components. They are sacred geography, then sacred performances and sacred specialists. What is meant by sacred geography? It is a differentiated space created owing to the sacred qualities bestowed on it. On a particular land, some sacred qualities are bestowed, or simply it is the spatial organization of a sacred city. That's it. Sacred performances are the rituals and other activities carried out in the sacred geography. They are pujas, homa, arghya, then shraddha karma, Leela, Gana, Sankirtana, Prardhana, Patana, philanthropic activities, all of them come under sacred performances. Sacred specialists are the people who perform sacred performances. They are priests, monks, florists, barbers, shopkeepers, astrologers, palmists, magicians, composers, reciters, all those people. Then you have to write like this. If you analyze the sacred complex which emerged because of the fusion of sacred geography, sacred performances and sacred specialists, we can understand the structure, organization and dynamics of Hindu civilization. LP Vidyarthi introduced the concept of sacred complex in order to understand or in order to project a Hindu place of pilgrimage as the best dimension to know about Hindu civilization. The concept of sacred complex was introduced by LP Vidyarthi in order to project a Hindu place of pilgrimage as the best dimension of Hindu civilization. If you analyze the sacred geography, sacred performances and sacred specialists of a sacred city, we can understand the structure and dynamics of Hindu civilization. After studying the sacred complex of Hindu Gaya, he proposed why he selected a Hindu place of pilgrimage as the best dimension of Hindu civilization. There are three reasons or three hypotheses. What are those three hypotheses? According to him, a sacred complex represents or reflects a level of combination, compromise and continuity of great and little traditions. Once again I am repeating, combination, compromise and continuity of great and little tradition. In the examination you have to write in this sequence only. First a combination, after that compromise, adjustment, after that continuation to the next generation. That's why a sacred complex reflects a level of combination, compromise and continuity of great and little traditions. Second one is, the sacred specialists of a Hindu place of pilgrimage maintain a distinct way of life and they transmit the elements of great traditions to the little traditions by popularizing certain texts and by officiating as temple and ritual priest. Third one is, the sacred complex in general and the sacred specialists in particular have been in the process of transformation and modification. Transformation and modification. These are the 3 points. LP Vidyarthi analyzed the data pertaining to Gaya and tested these hypotheses and found that these hypotheses are correct. That means a Hindu place of pilgrimage is the best place to know about Hindu civilization. That's it. If it is asked for 10 marks, you have to write that content. Sometimes questions may be asked like this. A Hindu place of pilgrimage is the best dimension to know about Hindu civilization. A Hindu place of pilgrimage is the best dimension to know about Hindu civilization. Discuss. Then you have to write like this. A Hindu place of pilgrimage is the best place to know about Hindu civilization. Why? Because if you study a Hindu place of pilgrimage, we can come to know about the structure and dynamics of Hindu civilization. It can be best explained with the help of sacred complex concept of LP Vidyarthi. Then explain the analysis. LP Vidyarthi analyzed the sacred geography, then sacred performances and sacred specialists. And I put subheading analysis of sacred geography, analysis of sacred performances and analysis of sacred specialists. Then finally conclude that yes, a Hindu place of pilgrimage is the best dimension to know, is the best place to know about Hindu civilization because of the following reasons. All these reasons can be seen with respect to analysis of sacred geography, sacred performances and sacred specialists. Like that you have to conclude. It can be asked for either 10 marks or for long answer question. The next question is NMS complex. Here also NMS complex can be asked either for 10 marks or for 15 marks. It was introduced by same LP Vidyarthi after carrying out his field work in the Rajmahal Hills in a tribe by name Malar. He presented this concept in his book Malar, the nature, man, spirit complex in a hill tribe of Bihar. LP Vidyarthi introduced the concept of NMS complex in his book by name Malar, the nature, man, spirit complex in a hill tribe of Bihar after carrying out his field work in the Rajmahal Hill region. After that, that is introduction. After that, definition. You have to write definition as such. NMS complex is also a way of life. It is a complex arising out of man's close interaction with and dependence on the nature and his belief in spirit and supernatural world. Once again I am repeating, it is a complex arising out of man's close interaction with and dependence on nature and in his belief in spirit and supernatural world. According to LP Vidyarthi, in the NMS complex, 3 components are there. They are nature, man and spirit. Then nature stands for environment, man stands for society, and spirit stands for belief in the supernatural world or simply religion. Mallards maintain their society in tune with the available environmental resources and in tune with their belief system. Then detailed explanation you have to give. How Mallards are dependent on the environment and what is their belief system. Gaussians, benevolent Gaussians, malevolent Gaussians you have to write. After that, you have to maintain that Mallards try to maintain their society in tune with the environmental resources or environment and the belief system. That means they would like to maintain balance between among these three elements, nature and their society and their belief system. They want to maintain balance between nature and their society and their society and their belief system. That means NMS equilibrium. NMS equilibrium. Then significance. You have to write introduction, definition about three components and significance. What is the significance? It is useful for the experts, developmental experts, to plan rehabilitation programs and different varieties of developmental programs. At the time of formulating any developmental program, that program should not cause any disturbance to this NMS equilibrium. Even though that is a welfare measure, if that equilibrium is disturbed, then the tribal people will not accept that developmental program. In such circumstances, tribal people cannot be developed. That is one thing. Second one is, the tribal people have been following the principles of sustainable development from times immemorial. That's why in those areas we can come across many resources. That's why in order to take those resources for the sake of national development, first of all, tribal people have to be motivated, but the tribal people have a lot of attachment towards the nature. That's why if we disturb that equilibrium, they will not accept the development, they will not allow the government agencies to enter into their areas, they will not allow them to take those resources. That's why if we motivate them without causing any disturbance to NMS equilibrium, we can take those resources, they can be used for the sake of national development. The same concept can be used for the sensitization of anthropologists. Why? Because anthropologists are conducting research and they are gathering the data. That's why it makes the anthropologists to be sensitive with regard to their belief system. And at the same time, it also proves that generally the tribal traditions are considered as little traditions. In our civilization, all the traditions can be divided into little traditions and great traditions. The great traditions are the traditions of the urban people, little traditions are the traditions of rural people. Generally we feel that great traditions are great, little traditions are not so great. And we believe that little tradition people, they appreciate the great traditions. But if we want to impose our development on those people, if that disturbance, if that equilibrium is disturbed, they won't accept it. That indicates they will not always overawed. Overawed means impressed. It indicates that the little traditions, they are not only resilient and overawed by the great traditions, they are capable of rejecting the great traditions also. That's why you have to understand that equilibrium, you have to take measures accordingly. And the same concept is used to study the village societies and urban societies also. This is about the significance of NMS equilibrium. If they ask specifically about the significance of NMS equilibrium, you can explain with the help of the same points you have to explain, but with the help of recent incidents. Whenever the government wants to bring about development in a particular area, when it involves the religious sentiments or belief system of the tribal people, if they reject, then that example can be taken and it can be mentioned as a case study in your exam. You have to, when the significance of NMS complex is specifically asked, you have to write some examples also, current examples. This is about NMS complex. Okay. The next topic is impact of different religions on the traditional Indian society. There are direct questions, I am not going to explain, you can go through the content also. We have discussed the entire third chapter in just 1.5 hours. Just I recollected all those points. Now go to your rooms and read all those topics. And tomorrow we'll cover the social change. Day after tomorrow we'll cover second chapter and fourth chapter. Then I'll give you tips also how to remember certain difficult textbook names, author names, especially in the growth of anthropology, and how to remember racial classification, their characteristics. I'll give some clues so that you can easily remember. Today itself practice it. Okay, with these 3 days your preparation of this paper to section A except the first chapter must be over. Okay, now my task is over, your task is left behind. You have to go to your rooms and you have to read and you have to acquire command. Okay, we'll start the session today. Thank you.